Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of the rebooted TWM Talks Indies. I am here with the protagonist that brings pandemonium to the independent wrestling scene, the incomparable Kidd Bandit. Kidd, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Of course, you want to get right into this, or is there anything else you want to say before we start?
No, let's get right on it. I'm very excited.
Okay, so this is an industry that historically hasn't provided the strongest representation, but the independents right now are cognizant of some of wrestling's problematic past and are trying to change that. You're at the forefront of that, and it's phenomenal to see. What does this mean to you as part of what used to be such a marginalized part of the wrestling community in the first place?
Oh wow, we're starting with loaded questions right off the bat.
It's the only way to
Uh,
do it.
okay. I think it's very important for someone like myself to not let it get to my head. I think if I start looking at it as oh, I'm here to bring about change and be very, I don't know, like brazen about it, then it might come off a little bit disingenuous. So,
Right.
my main goal, because like you said, I kind of am in the forefront of that, is to just be myself. Try to stay true to who I am. Which in and of itself kind of is a challenge. Especially for someone like me who I kind of came out of nowhere. The fame kind of happened like almost overnight, as it were. So the challenge is like, okay, how do I navigate this newfound like position I'm in? How do I stay true to myself? How do I do my mentors proud? How do I not quote unquote sell out and basically become one of the people who you know made the indies the way it like was, which was very I want to say gatekeepy, as it were.
Right.
um and in terms of like being a member of a marginalized group, me being a Asian American, Japanese Filipino trans girl in the openly trans girl in the professional wrestling circuit, you know, the role I'm at, like I don't want to present myself as like, oh, I'm the idol. I am someone that people need to look up to. It's more along the lines of I just need to be myself, because if I'm not myself, then I think people will realize that. So
Right.
there was definitely a moment in time where I did kind of let it get to my head, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be the one to show everybody that people like me should succeed, and then I realized that made me very unhappy. It wasn't really who I was inside, and I was trying to be someone who I wasn't. So
Right.
what it really meant to me when it finally clicked was, if I can quote unquote get over just by being myself with my love for anime, video games, and all that stuff. And I wasn't like, there was a time where I was very critical about who I was, because I was trying to win over the haters. I was trying to, in my mind, I was thinking, if I do great, if I get signed, if I succeed and break milestones upon milestones, then nobody could criticize me. But then it hit me. It's like, these people will find ammunition against me anyway. They'll criticize me no matter what. So I should just enjoy the ride. So that's kind of been my new policy, is just, I want to have fun being myself, doing what I like. And that should be what people look to see in me, is that, hey, here's this person who was part of multiple marginalized like groups, who's just living the dream. And maybe I could live the dream too, because no one else in wrestling is like me, like that fits all those criteria. But people always people gravitated towards me because they saw a part of themselves in me. And it might not be the entire Kidd Bandit experience. It might be just be they might just like anime. They might just like the way I wrestle. They might just like the fact that I'm trans. But, you know, combine all that, you get the full Kidd Bandit. And people can relate to parts of Kidd Bandit, much like how we as fans relate to parts of a wrestler, but not entirely the entire wrestler. If that
Right.
makes sense.
I think speaking just for me, the authenticity is what sets you apart because a lot of people will be like, I think representation in media is one of the most important things within media. The idea that somebody that looks up to you can also do it, that can be them. but if that's your whole character, it sometimes can come across conveyed the wrong way. I
Yep.
think the fact that that's not all Kidd Bandit is, and that they encompass so many things is important too. But there's so many things that you've had a lot of big opportunities. You were in the first DPW match.
Yes.
You worked John Hennigan, who goes by many names. I'm still stuck on Johnny names.
Ah,
You worked
that's right.
Malachi Black recently. You've had a lot of big opportunities to put Kidd Bandit at the forefront. And that the Kidd Bandit character has really blossomed because of that. You mentioned how many things are involved. Can you briefly explain the Kidd Bandit character to our listeners who may not be familiar with their work?
Well, as of the time of this recording, the Kidd Bandit character is currently undergoing a very, very drastic metamorphosis.
The rebirth.
A rebirth, Bandit rebirth, which is reinvention is always reinvention and evolution is a mystery. I'm just kidding. Reinvention of a character is always very it's always very risky in wrestling because it might not translate well or it might alienate like the original fans. In my case, I've always wanted to incorporate everything that I like into the character, but doing so will doing like that in like one bucket and then just splashing it all in one go will definitely create like like a quote unquote like if I just bundled every single bit of my interests and then threw it into the Kidd Bandit character, it's a monumental clusterfuck because me as a human being loves everything. I love video games, music, anime, etc. And I started noticing that throughout my rookie year because like when I started, pre-transition me was very much a shonen anime character. When I transitioned, I really like I never grew up as a scene kid, and I wanted to be a scene kid. So there was a lot of being emo in the character, a lot of gothic influences, which doesn't really match the anime shonen anime aesthetic that the character
Right.
originally presented. There was definitely the elements of cosplay, which I utilized consistently, which kind of created this like I started kayfabing it as it's the Bandit multiverse, which in hindsight was brilliant because I'm a big fan of Loki, but at the same time it was kind of like I'm half-assing everything. So as of now, the metamorphosis is a unified attempt to it's an attempt to have a unified concept of who Kidd Bandit's supposed to be while utilizing storyline elements. Like you said, I did wrestle Malachi Black in a much publicized match in Prestige. I wrestled John Hennigan, who under the moniker of Johnny Hollywood for Pandemonium Pro Wrestling. So Sonny Kiss for Garden State. So a lot
Rich
of
Swann.
these matches. Yes, Rich Swann over at BTE in Connecticut, which, by the way, I can't find the footage of that anywhere, but it was like one of my favorite matches ever. So, if someone's watching this and has that, please send it to me. But anyway, in the indies, we have the benefit of creative control because we are in charge of our own brand. We don't necessarily answer to a higher power that controls how we market ourselves. It's up to us to do that. And with that comes the creative control to write storylines for our characters and stuff. And the character right now, the metamorphosis I'm doing is designed to tie in all these big matches and opportunities into a big storyline that unifies everything that Kidd Bandit was and Kidd Bandit, the Kidd Bandit direction, which if people have been paying attention, it's very cyberpunk, it's very digital, and that's entirely by design because I'm a big sci-fi geek and Mass Effect, Cyberpunk 2077, Akira, Ghost in the Shell, big influences of myself that I have yet to really touch upon. So and that's actually that's my forte is sci-fi. So I'm very excited to like show the world like the new Kidd Bandit, what I'm doing. There's I'm approaching it very much like how Bray Wyatt did the Follow the Rabbit Trail. Very ARG about the approach, and taking a lot of influences with Cicada, the ARG game, creepypastas and all that stuff. So that's the new direction because these are all stuff I'm interested in that I'm trying to tie in together.
You mentioned the multiverse. I personally think that concept is exceptional because on the independents, when you're jumping from promotion to promotion, these are different audiences that haven't seen you. So you can establish different bits of your character to create this one massive character. I think that's a lot something that a lot of talents aren't utilizing to their advantage enough. So I think that's a great shout. So it's been put out there that you have since started booking shows. Of course, historically, some independent wrestling bookers are a bit more notorious. So, do you look for different things when booking talents versus more things that more traditional experienced bookers wouldn't look for? And what's the biggest challenge you faced when it comes to booking a show?
Um, to answer the question, I have to preface it as my role in the company is that I help write the storylines. It's not all me. If it's all me, I will never lose. I'm just kidding. But
Of course.
I'm just kidding. But personal policy is a wrestling show is not a one act it's not a one act show. It's a culmination of multiple acts that gradually it increases into a crescendo, which should be the main event, right?
Right.
And I started booking the shows for Pandemonium Pro Wrestling, or help book shows for Pandemonium Pro Wrestling, write storylines and stuff. The idea was always to look at it from a perspective of someone that's jumping into the product for the very first time, how they can relate to the characters already established in the company, and how the character Kidd Bandit fits into that. And the ultimate irony is that I am my moniker as a wrestler, the Kidd Bandit character is the protagonist of professional wrestling. But as far as like writing is concerned, and for Pandemonium Pro Wrestling, I don't view the Kidd Bandit character as the protagonist of the company,
Right.
because as of now, as of the recording of this video, the character I'm is going through a transformation arc. I just lost the .TV title to John Hennigan. Curse you! So now, you know, why would that character Kidd Bandit be the focus of that when all the spotlight should be on the champion, the brand new champion, their upcoming challenges, their challengers? And yes, it to answer, like, to tie into like your other questions here, is like, what are some of the struggles? What are some things that I try to do to separate myself from the other independent wrestlers who are also multitasking as bookers? Is basically I can't look at the show as the Kidd Bandit show. It has to be a
Right.
show that has Kidd Bandit in it. And if the Kidd Bandit character can't isn't meant to be at the forefront, then I have to be okay with that. And I that's like the number one challenge I have to face, because I have been on shows where the booker is also on the show and they would book themselves in like phenomenal positions that it kind of comes off as blatant to the audiences, where they see, oh well, they own the company, of course they're gonna be doing that, or of course they're wrestling that. And frankly, I'm not accept to that, because I did book myself in the main event in the last show. Admittedly I did lose, so there's that. And admittedly, like my role in the company now is, as far as the character is concerned, is slowly gradually dying down. But it's definitely keeping yourself humble, understanding that it should not revolve around you, but being okay if it's required to put yourself in positions where it does have to revolve around you. Because at the time that I booked the company, the storyline of the company, I was also one of the more popular talents in the company. So it was, and I was also the champion when I assumed the role of creative
Right.
writer. So, like, why wouldn't I put myself in the main event? Because like, if I didn't put myself in the main event, then it devalues the championship. So writing, I kind of did put myself in the corner right there. But other than that, another challenge I've had to come across is, how do I write a show that differentiates myself and the brand from a lot of the product right now? And I think the easiest answer to that is basically like, what are some things that I like outside of wrestling that I could bring into the world of professional wrestling? And my first thought was, I love anime a lot. Wrestling and anime are very parallel when it comes to like presentation, storylines, characters, character development, etc., etc. And so my first idea was literally like, we're gonna book an anime like with wrestling, and we're gonna bring anime into it. And VTubers are like literally characters
Right.
like people in avatars that are anime characters, and I was friends with. I'm friends. God, I'm friends with Takahata 101, who is of the Dragon Ball Z abridged fame from Team Four Star, and so reached out to Taka. So shout out to you for always having my back. Brought him in, had him be the MC, and basically like that really set the tone for the kind of product I'm trying to put out. It's supposed to be goofy. It's supposed to be over the top. It's supposed to be anime. One of the segments I wrote was one of the characters who unfortunately was injured coming into the show. Like, so they were cutting promo with a sling on their arm, and they broke it in an accident. But, with the over the top nature of Pandemonium Pro Wrestling, I thought, well, we could say that he got injured, or we could say that he got shot in a drive-by.
This sounds very Shikara.
Yeah. Shikara is admittedly, I got into independent wrestling scene after Chikara already folded, but yes, there's a lot of Chikara in there. There's a lot of DPW in there too, if it's not obvious. So shout out to my homies over at Deadlock. Yo, y'all are amazing.
That's for true. So you mentioned that wrestling's not a one act show. I actually agree. I think that's what's important too, looking at what the most overacts on the show. Right now in the landscape of independent wrestling, somebody may like Warhorse because they relate to the metalhead, but I love Warhorse. Shout out to Warhorse. But some people may like Kidd Bandit because they relate to the anime. There's so many different great characters right now, and there's going to be a little bit of something for everybody. And I think that's what makes independent wrestling so much fun in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So this new character is going through a rebirth. Before we wrap up, Twitter's been speculating a lot about Kidd Bandit. Do you want to set the record straight while we have you here?
Yeah. So in the weird nature of 2023, where kayfabe is very much alive, but we're also at a point where everybody understands what wrestling's true nature is. It is a performance art. Some people disagree. Some people believe that kayfabe should be very much respected, and for those people who have that belief, I highly respect that. For me personally, I kind of skirt the line between kayfabe and shoot because I use a lot of my wrestling fame to market myself outside of wrestling in the anime industry and the entertainment industry. So I have to acknowledge that it is a performance art because people outside of wrestling will not, they have no concept that what kayfabe is. And like they don't understand why we are method acting 24/7. So it's like I have to turn it off, to interact with those people. So this is for the Kidd Bandit fans who aren't wrestling fans. I am alive. I am okay. I am not being taken over by some kind of digital ghost. For those who are wrestling fans who love keeping kayfabe alive, I got corrupted. I am in danger right now. There is some digital ghost trying to hack my internal organs. I don't know how they're doing it, but I blame Malachi Black. So, I will have revenge somehow, some way, someday. So that's it. But I am alive and I am okay.
They're alive and they're okay. And for those who are wondering, Kidd Bandit, where can we find you? On social media, things such of that nature.
Of course. I am lucky enough to have my unified handle for everything. It is Kidd Bandit Pro and Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. I should be better at this. TikTok.
Don't worry, I'm a podcaster and I still don't have it down.
Yeah, like in everything, it should be under Kidd Bandit Pro, KIDDBANDITPRO. Yeah. Okay, I guess it's not that hard to do that part.
And of course, you can check out all of their work at Pandemonium Pro, Deadlock Pro, and everywhere that books them. You can find where their matches are by following their social media. So be sure to do that. And of course, you can find me on Twitter at the Jameus. And of course, I will promote all of my shows, upcoming events, things of that nature on my Twitter. You can find myself, our producer backstage, Ash Rose, and Tiffany, Queen of the Indies, every other Monday for We Talk Indies. a wonderful independent wrestling podcast. They really make me look good. They carry me. Shout out to both of them, those wonderful ladies. So, thank you to. Before I finish, you can also find me at Body Slam Nat, TWM, every fan site, everywhere I produce content for. Give a shout out to my sites, my brands. Big thank you to Kidd Bandit for a wonderful interview. And after a sensational rookie year, I feel like a dick calling somebody a rookie, but it was the first year. After a sensational first year in the industry, they're taking this scene and the wrestling world by storm. They're doing a tremendous job, terrific job, marketing themselves outside of professional wrestling to hopefully bring in a larger base. And they seem to have it all figured out. So shout out to Bandit. Thank you for a tremendous interview and a tremendous first episode of We Talk Indies. We would love to have you back on soon. Be sure to follow Kidd Bandit, everybody. I'm the Jameus.